Thanks so much for joining us. I'm Laureli Shimayo, and this is MeWe Fairs for energizing body, mind, heart, and soul. We have many events throughout the Pacific Northwest, many online. Today's one of our online events. It's a panel. We have themes for our panels, and today's theme is honoring our ancestors, Samhain, and preparing for Dia de los Muertos. There are 5 practitioners on the call that specialize in this, and so they'll be the focus tonight. I'm mostly hosting the call. We'll be sharing about ourselves and talking about the theme, and then we'd love to receive questions. It's great to ask us a personal question just like you would for a private session. It's free to listen and learn, free to practice opening your intuition, and we ask a first sliding scale fee for asking a question of the panel. There's info on that in the chat. It's $20 to $28 or $12 for BIPOC folks as a step of making reparations. Let's see. So yeah, we're going to go through and have the practitioners introduce themselves, tell you about who they are, what they do, how this theme is so important to them, their perspectives. Well, let's see. I guess panelists, maybe let's do the lighter version on the theme the first time around, and then we'll come back around and we'll talk about the theme in more depth. So go ahead and mention the theme and how it's related to you, but then no, we're going to come back for more layers. So you've got a couple of minutes or so to tell us about who you are and all you do. And it can be all that you do, not just what you're doing here tonight. So maybe let's go ahead in the same order as before. We'll have Leslie, Diane, the psychic nerd, DoveLight, and then Shannon share. All right, go ahead, Leslie.
Hi, I'm Leslie Zemenek. I am a hand analyst and past life astrologer. I also am a witch and a Kabbalist. I work primarily doing readings for people around life purpose and soul mission, but I also do a lot of past life work, and I have had many encounters with the honored dead, my honored dead and honored dead from history. I had my first encounter with an ancestor from the other side when I was 5. And one of the things I do is a ritual, a Samhain ritual, where I hold a dinner party where we serve the foods of our honored dead and speak only with them, eating in silence. And it's a very profound, beautiful ritual. Thank you.
Great. Thank you so much, Leslie. All right, Diane.
Hi, I'm Diane Evans. I'm a 5th generation shaman, Mexican Indian, a licensed minister, an advocate for DV and sexual assault and child welfare. I speak usually on healing the inner child after domestic violence, sexual assault, and the importance of developing your spiritual language, how and why. I do sacred geometry. I am at a master level in sacred geometry, energy healing, and activations. And I cover a full range of past life readings, oracle readings, tarot readings, generational healing, trauma, things of that nature. So if you're looking for a bit more information on that, reach out. Love to answer the questions. But for tonight, it's part of my culture. It's part of what I have grown up knowing and truly loving. It's my favorite time of year. The veil's so thin, and our loved ones truly want to connect with us. So I'm happy to be here tonight and help make some of those connections happen and just continue to honor and serve them. Thank you.
Great. Thank you so much. The psychic nerd.
Hello, everyone. I am the Psychic Nerd, and I am a medium, tarot reader, and oracle reader. And tonight, the panel information that I am very familiar with and more than happy to provide is about daily ancestral veneration. It is a practice that has had a profound effect on my life. And so I have tips and resources to provide with anyone who wants to know how to do that, how to start, some of the things that your ancestors will absolutely love having on the altar, and tips on how you can make it meaningful and impactful.
Great. Thank you. All right, DoveLight.
Good evening, everybody. My honor and blessings to be here. I'm DoveLight from DoveLightoracle.com. I am very passionate about connecting to spirit. I'm just a regular person. Sometimes I have good days, other bad days. Sometimes I cry. Sometimes I don't know what's going on. And sometimes I have a clarity through the connection of the divine. So I'm just a regular person. But I truly do believe that navigating the challenge of living a human life has the blessing of being able to grow and expand. And sometimes it's important to, if you choose to do so, trust yourself and get guidance through different modes that resonate with you. I'm very passionate about reading. I do tarot oracle reading, but it's not only the tarot, it's the connection to your soul, the information that I can get through that vessel. I also read the elements. I am very grateful also through my own healing to be involved in ancestral healing, past life regression, many shamanic traditions or practices like connection to your soul retrieval and calling the course. I just love being connected to spirit, prayers, the angelic realm, past life regression. It's something that not only have an interest in, I never thought I was actually going to work with the public. It was more like I was doing my own work, my own healing work, and more than a work, become a path to get to know yourself. So I love that about the spiritual gift that comes from spirit. And we're in a time when the thing to the spirit world, it's very, very more accessible. And I'm so grateful to be here in this panel. There are many different perspectives, origins, traditions about celebrating how to connect to spirit in a safety, in a healthy way. Because we know we live in a world of shadow and light, and there is everything. So it's up to us to choose which way do we want to flow through that path of the spirit. I do have a coupon for 25% any reading through my website. It's a coupon discount with the word ancestors for the people who are here in the panel. Thank you, everybody. And I'm so eager to answer any questions with the group. Thank you all.
Thank you so much, DoveLight. And Shannon.
Hey there, my name is Shannon and my pronouns are they, them. My ancestors come primarily from Northwestern Europe, so mostly Germany and France, and the UK and Scandinavia and the Baltic as well. I started doing healing work around 2010. I started with massage therapy. And then in 2017, somewhat unexpectedly and spontaneously, started to have more contact with the spirit world. And so my focus changed quite a bit. I started studying biodynamic cranial sacral therapy, and then shamanic healing practices, and then ancestral healing as well. And ancestral healing is just really my passion. I love them all, but I feel like working with the ancestors has had so much impact on my life personally as a client, and then other people's lives that I've seen as well. So I always love talking about that, and I'm happy to be here. Thanks.
Great, great. And I say I'm Laureli Shimayo. I'm an intuitive eye reader, body psychology coach, and matchmaker. I read your eyes, read your soul. I can read the eyes in people that have passed if I have photos of them, and sometimes I can sense into the energy of others that have passed. And my focus is not the theme of this panel, so I will mostly be hosting, depending on the questions that are asked. And I'm grateful for you all being here, and I'm grateful for the rest of the panelists being here to be able to talk about this theme. All right, let's see. Some of you mentioned specials. I know that some of you have specials that didn't mention them. If you want to just go back around and mention your specials again and what they are, and then we'll go around and talk more about the theme. Yes, Leslie, did you want to say? And I'll post everything in the chat right now too as you're sharing. Let's see, it's right there in the chat.
Muted. Sorry. My website is lesliezemenek.com. I offer hand analysis readings, past life astrology readings, and soul plan numerology based on Kabbalistic numbers and your birth name. And I have a coupon, MeWe24, good until the end of this year for $50 off any of those readings.
Great. And then Diane.
I am offering oracle readings at $44. I'm offering past life readings at $55. And if you book a sacred geometry healing or activation before the end of the month, you can get that for $35 at this time.
All right, great. And then let's see, DoveLight, you mentioned yours. Do you want to say yours again too? And I'll get yours in the chat as well. There we go. Get you unmuted.
I was gonna say, I already mentioned it. It's the coupon Ancestor for 25% off any reading with me at DoveLightOracle.com if it resonates for you. But it's okay. Thank you.
Okay, coupon code. I think I've got the wrong thing
Hey,
on.
Lorelei,
Yes. Did I post?
I
Yes.
wanted to mention my
Mhm.
website is a mystical journey 88 a mystical journey, and my email is a mystical journey 888 @gmail.com if anybody wants to reach out that way.
Okay, great. And let's see, did I just put DoveLights in the chat or not? Let me see. Nope, let me get it in the chat. There we go. All right, great. And let's see. So, how about if we talk a little bit more about the theme? So, why have a panel at this time of year? Why have it now? And what are all the things that are so important about this time of year? Not all, but some of the things. You spoke about it a little bit, but maybe, yeah. So, we can go around in the same order, or yeah, go ahead, Leslie. Feel free to share more.
Well, of course, Diane mentioned about the veil being very thin this time of year. And it is a time where I have seen people pass through that veil. Actually, my dog just passed through that veil not long ago, too. So one of my favorite quotes is from Gay Hendricks, and he says, if we don't have a good relationship, I'm not going to get it exactly right, but if we don't have a good relationship with death, it's impossible to have a good relationship with life. And I think that's very true. I'm a Scorpio with 4 planets in Scorpio, so I've always been kind of comfortable in that dark place. And every time I've gone to a ritual at Samhain and brought my pictures for the Ancestor altar, I always seem to have the most of people I'm honoring who've passed by. And I don't know if that's because I'm a Scorpio or not. So I love the idea of honoring the dead. I think there are a lot of cultures that have beautiful rituals for that. And we seem to try and just maybe in the West hold that off and hope that it doesn't affect us. But I think these beautiful rituals help us connect with the people we love. Um, it's a way to make peace with things maybe you weren't able to say because you missed an opportunity. There's some wonderful, wonderful reasons to meet with your dead and have a direct connection and not even need someone in between, which is what the dinner feeding the dead allows you to do.
Yeah, great. Thanks, Leslie, for sharing a bit more. Diane.
Part of the reason I love this holiday is, everything Leslie said is, pretty close to what we believe as well within the Mexican culture. But part of doing this is because if we don't remember them, their spirit, it leaves this plane. And for those of us who want to connect with them, want to learn about our gifts, want to obtain some of the knowledge and traditions that our ancestral line has carried, those spirits are important to remember. So, putting their picture out and honoring them with different foods, with different gifts of joy and things that they really connected to while here on this plane is just wonderful ways that we get to open those channels. And when we take time to honor them, we can also find forgiveness. We can find cleansing. We can let go of trauma and things that have held our ancestors back. We can truly shift our ancestral line in so many ways while the veil is thin, and we have that ability to see them and hear them and feel them in ways that sometimes it's just not quite so easy at other times of the year. So it's a beautiful tradition. It's a beautiful custom. And I love to just open more people up to giving that honor, even if it isn't just on this day.
Thanks so much, Diane. The psychic nerd.
Hello to everyone who's just joined us. So I have incorporated daily ancestral veneration, and I know that it can have a profound effect on your life. It's healing for both you and for your ancestors because that connection is something that we have kind of ignored, but having them around, it brings them in. And so it gives you a relationship with them. and an understanding also of yourself. And you can actually, at least it's been my experience, that I have been able to figure out why certain things in my life may have been not going so great, but having the daily ancestral practices has actually cleared up some of that stagnant energy, and it has also given me something to get my day started that is unique and also special. And it really gives me a boost and helps me to just go about my day in a way that I feel good about myself.
Great, thank you. And DoveLight.
I truly believe, if it resonates with you, that when we come to the earth, to this realm, we are never alone. Even though we have the ability to feel lonely, we're never alone. We have the original source, creator, God, goddess, source, Holy Spirit, whichever way you wish to call it. But from this consciousness, we are many parts of that what He created us, which means that we will have the free will to explore and live the way that we choose to according our experience. So we're able to create experience and wisdom. And for that, we might all have different perspectives of how to connect with it and how to deal with it, or choose not to, which is fine. However, like I say, it's very important to honor that even the own body is made up of cells that create the organs, that create the whole system. So it was not one thing. In the human field, we have the non-physical and the visible. In the non-physical, we have the mental, the spiritual, we have the emotional field. There is also one of the layers, which is the ancestral field, which is like a web that is connected to the people who were born before you. And you don't only get by DNA your grandma's eyes or your nose or the long hair, you also get part of the non-physical part. So one of the importance to connect with your ancestors is so you become more aware that there might be lessons that they might have carried that they didn't finish. There might be some entanglements. They might be passed on to you, not because you deserve it in a conscious level or it's a punishment. It's more like to become aware as the responsibility of the web of life, the web of your ancestry. Nobody's free of this because we are living in a world that is connected to everything from ourselves, from our family, from our community, from your hairs, even the mushrooms, if the trees under the roots, they are connected. We live in a connected world. So one way or another, we're going to get affected. Now, it is very important to understand that part of connecting to your ancestry, that doesn't mean that you have to forgive or you have to accept what they've done to you if they were not so nice. Some of us don't even know where their ancestors were. Some people are adopted, so people might wonder, how do I get connected to it? Well, when you do have the genuine intention to connect to your ancestors, they start coming, the ones who are meant to work with you. Our ancestors, the people who were born before you, were not saints, were not perfect, were not God. They were human just like us. They have their good side and their not so good side. So how do we align in a balanced place to connect with them? Is to have an intention to start talking to them, praying to them, giving the offerings with respect to the ones that are for your highest good at this moment. This is very important because they will help you to bring awareness on certain settings of your life that you might need help. You might need to aware something is going on. And it's miraculous how perhaps you didn't have a good relationship with your living grandmothers or grandfathers, but when they go to the other side, they pass through their life experience, they are here to help you if you choose to accept them. Another thing is the many of the ancestors in the spiritual realm, I notice in these communities that many of the ancestors were healers, herbalists, shamans, if you will, and oh my God, so many stuff. And then because of what happened, the genocide, the wars, discrimination, they got caught on the lineage. And sometimes the ancestors can recognize a descendant and they can guide them. And then years on later, you see somebody in the city wondering, why am I so attracted to the woo? Why am I so attracted to tarotkars? Why am I so attracted to shamanism? It is because it's the calling of your ancestors. And that's very beautiful. we live in a work of a shadow and a light. That's the oneness. That's how we grow and expand. So it is very important to have a team to know that you can trust and you love. And one of them can be, if you choose to allow it, your ancestors, the one for your highest good. And that's a little bit to begin with. But remember, it is very important that you have to be comfortable getting into the unknown to listen, so they start giving you the message. Okay.
Great, thank you. Shannon.
Hey, this is Shannon. I actually sort of just feel like I'm going to be repeating a lot of what all the other panelists are saying, which maybe is like a testament to the power of our connections with the ancestors, that we're all having these amazing experiences with them. But I started studying ancestral healing. Well, I started as a client working on my own lineages in 2019, and then started studying it to become a practitioner maybe a couple of years ago now. And at this point, I just truly believe that if everybody had connections with all of their loving and wise and kind ancestors, that this world would be a much better place than it is. Just for so many reasons. Like, I feel like it gives so much context for where we came from. Like the psychic nerd was saying that they were having, like, by having these practices, like, I feel like we can see that, like, so maybe you have like a pattern in your life that you're like, why isn't this shifting? I'm doing all of this healing work around it, like all of this other healing work. And it could be like an ancestral pattern that's coming through. And once that starts shifting and that starts healing, then that can really, really ripple out into the rest of your life. And it also, like, I could just go on and on about this. There's so many positive things I've noticed. One other thing that has been really beneficial, both in my own life and in other people's lives that I've seen doing this work, is both that they don't feel like so alone, because we have, like I said in my introduction, I think that we have like this unseen family around us at all times. And it also can really be helpful when you have a loved one who's transitioning to the next world. Because at least for me, like, since I've known like that my ancestors are well and are in a more healed state and are ready to receive anybody who passes on, then when a loved one does pass, it's easier to trust that they're going to a good place. So not that it minimizes any grief that might happen with that, but I feel like there's some security in that as well. So at least I've found that to be the case. So I think I'll leave it at that. Thank you.
Great, thanks. And maybe, psychic nerd, if I can toss it to you for a moment, is there a little bit more that you would like to say about your practice, or like the altar, or how did you get started doing this? Like, has it always been part of your life, or when did this show up? If you're available to share some of that, the psychic nerd. If you're not right now, that's okay. Just checking in. Okay, yeah, we might come back to that afterwards. I say, if anyone has some general questions about this time of year or general questions about these practices, we're happy to answer those kinds of questions for free. So if you have some general questions like that, feel free to put them in the chat, or you might even be able to just unmute and speak your question in the space. And panelists, if you have some questions we want to ask each other, just to kind of have more of the conversation happening. I know one thing that you've all shared a bunch of this. I was thinking about how, like, this isn't a mediumship panel. This is different. Like, we might address mediumship here, but really this is different context. And yeah, so I appreciate the way we've talked about that some. So anyone wants to say anything else about that too, feel free.
I'd be curious to,
Maybe let's have
sorry.
Diane and then go ahead. We'll have, if that was Leslie after. Go ahead, Diane.
I was just curious, if we could go around and maybe possibly share a little bit about what we put on our altars, for this time of year to honor. I was going to say, for me, we put out food. Usually we know our ancestors' favorite foods. So, and traditionally we would go to the graveyard to actually have a meal with our ancestors and to celebrate their lives and what they've left us. And what we give back is, food and different toys and different trinkets and different memories. And we always, bring their photos to help carry their spirits through. But these are common things found on ours. We also have different animals, our passed on pets that end up serving as guardians to us as well. So we put out treats and different things even for our pets that have left us. And I like to use the incense of copal and lots of candles, marigolds, flowers, very common, roses also as well. These are, just some of the things. Like I got my dad's favorite candy, baseball cardinal. He passed over this past year, so we lost actually 3 this past year, so got a few more to add this year, and all men, so it's kind of amusing the things I've been called to, cigars and other little things that they like to sneak. So it's kind of amusing because your altar, as much as it is truly allowing you to connect with them, it also allows you a place to let go of grief and to truly remember the best and sometimes the quirky parts of our ancestors.
That's great.
But
Thank
I'd love to
you.
know what some of you put on your guys' mantles.
Yeah, that's great. So maybe we'll go around and do mantles, and then Leslie, you can go next. But if they want to share another topic, we'll go through and do that after we talk about our altars. Or DoveLight, whoever wants to jump in, go ahead, DoveLight.
Yes, altars. What's an altar? Well, in the kitchen, there is the cooking space. So the energy of cooking will be more concentrated. In the bathroom, there is the washing space, the hygienic space. So the energy of cleaning is more concentrated. The living room, you bring the guests. So there is a space for that. An altar, especially at your home, it's a place when you are honoring the space for sacredness listening, for sacredness prayer, for any spiritual practice that connect you to the divine. It's like a place when you anchor spiritual energy. And there is many ways to do altars for different purposes. But basically a basic altar will be a space to connect, an anchor of a space of energetic to do your spiritual practice when you listen, when you pray, when you meditate, that type of thing in the house. Usually it's on a flat area, safe flat area. Now, for Dia de los Muertos. Dia de los Muertos is not Mexican Halloween. It has a different purpose, a different perspective, a different origin than regular Halloween. I love them both, by the way. In the Dia de los Muertos, it's all about celebrating life. Like mostly it's with colors. It's bright. There is a lot of light. It is because we are not denying that losing somebody is a sad and there is a grieving process, but we honor the life and death are part of a oneness. What we mean by that, the ancient traditions, ancient indigenous cultures knew that death is a part of life. So they were not afraid of it. They were always do festivities, they do offerings, they do gatherings to celebrate life, to celebrate, hey, my ancestors are still alive in the other side. One day I'll reunite with them. Or, hey, a descendant is going to come from the spiritual world. Let's reunite and gather together. So the memories, the stories, the traditions, the healing recipes, the healing techniques will not get lost. It's like an unbroken, passed down generation through generation. Those gatherings of Dia de los Muertos serve the purpose to continue and celebrate life. Originally came, like I said, from the indigenous cultures when they believed that there were dead deities, that if a goddess is the closest, but it's more like a deity, there will be like a guardian to protect the souls or to guide the souls to the other side. This is why in the altars for example, the Dia de los Muertos, we put skulls. It's not scary. Like in Halloween, you put skulls to make it scary and spooky. In Dia de los Muertos, we put the skeletons to commemorate the people who pass away. Sometimes you will write their name to say, hey, this is the skulls of my uncle who passed away, of my pet who passed away. And this represents that they're still present in their life. They're still remembered. And also we put friend was saying the cempasúchil flower. The cempasúchil flower is a flower that represents the lights of the sun, and it's have a very spiritual purpose, like to light the souls to the altar, because the altar has been prepared with meaning and intention. The spirits are not gonna eat the actual food. What they're gonna eat is the energy that you put on the food, the smells that you put on the food. That's why we use copal or do this smudging, because the smudging of the copal is not woo-woo. In reality, it has the vibration to clear lower frequencies. so the soul can come to your place without getting lost into the limbo, into other type of energies. So that's why we clear with intention, we smudge with intention, so the souls can come. And we also have pan de muerto, which is a type of bread. It's like, I don't want to grab it all there, but it's in front of me. But it's like a circle with bones and skeletons that represent the circle of light. So everything in the Dia and altar has meaning. If you choose to do any type of altar on your own, know that everything that you choose to put has to have a meaning, a reason why. We also put tamales or tamalitos, which are made of corn, because we believe through the cosmology that we are children of the corn. Most Mesoamerican or Latin American cultures honor the corn, and it represents the way the creator made it. So when we put the tamalito, the corn tamal in the table, we're representing we're wrapping around and we will go back to the earth. So everything that we do, it's like a prayer of celebrating life and death. Something very important in the altar, it's the soul, because it's so purified. Fire to the light to guide them, and the water, the food. We put the pictures of our loved ones so they can recognize themselves as still present in their life. We also believe that because we put their pictures, now they're able to come. You can put your pets, you can put candles for people who pass away tragically, you can put candles for people who have nobody to pray for them. That in a specific day for the pets, October 27th, according to Mexican tradition, is usually the date when we specify, celebrate all that time for all the pets, for all the cats, for everything that it's like from the animal kingdom who actually play a role in our soul growth. And it's very beautiful. It's celebrating life. If I can put a resume, celebrating life. And the most basic part to do your altar is to be conscious. You can put something that represents the fire, a candle, water, a cup of water. You can put something that represents earth, the food or herbs or the flowers, and you can put something that represents air, like the smoke, or if you are not into smoke, you can put feathers. But it has to have an intention, a place when you're anchoring, saying, hey, here, I'm here to listen. And that's a little bit of how to start doing altars. Once you have your altar, then the other of customs or tradition can be involved. But that will be the basic of that.
Great, thank you. And there've just been some other questions, so I wonder just if one of them, if you could address now too. Like, how long is the season? How long do you have the altar up? So just DoveLight, if you want to say something about that, and then we can just check in with the others too.
And okay. Do ancestors maintain their positive? That question
No. Just let's just do one of them for just how long is the season? How long is this period of time? And then how long do you leave the altar up?
Oh, well, it depends on the town where you're born with or your tradition in the country. We usually understand by the astrological realm that beginning October, the energies start coming. You know, just like the sunrise and the lights start coming. And beginning of October, the energies start getting closer and closer and closer. And I do not believe that it's coincident that it's aligned with the Scorpion season. After the November the 1st to the 2nd, you can leave the altar up to November the 3rd. If you wish, if you see the food still not spoiled, you can give it to an offering to the land. You can give it to the earth. You can, do those kind of things. But usually, most people after November, around November the 3rd, release the altar, give it back to nature.
Okay, great. Thank you. Yeah, we were going around if there's Oh yeah, what do you do for your altar? That's right. So maybe Leslie, and then Shannon, and Psychic Nerd. Sure. Yeah.
I always put photos of my beloved dead on the altar, candles. In terms of feeding, there's the favorite foods. There's also a tradition that comes from old Slavic practices around pouring some alcohol on the corner of the table. So a little wine or a little port. And I leave a dish that is specifically for the food to feed the dead. I don't feed them from my own dish. One of the things I do want to mention is because the veil is thin, if you are inviting spirits in, one of the things that I do is I also make a point of specifically, if there are specific spirits who I don't want to come visit, I name them. I also take an onion and I cut it into 4 quarters and I put 1 quarter in each of the directions to keep out anything that I just don't want coming in. So I think, especially when the veil is this thin, it's important to not just welcome those you want, but to protect yourself against those that you don't want. So I just wanted to make that point.
Great. It's great. I'm just looking at my ancestors. So mine, I guess, is more similar to what you shared. So, and I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing this right. Viadi is the one of the Poland, Belarus, Policia, Russia, Ukraine. Like that's where most of my ancestors are from too. So,
Oh yeah, mine too.
yeah. Okay, great. Yeah, Shannon, do you do anything with an altar?
Um, so I actually am pretty informal as far as my altars go, which I feel a little bit sheepish with, being an ancestral practitioner. But it's actually been a really healing thing as well. I have chronic fatigue issues and other health issues that cause a lot of exhaustion for me. So some days I have very, very limited energy. And as I've been working with my ancestors over the last several years, I've come to realize that like I'm their child and they love me no matter what. Um, and so if there are days or weeks or even months sometimes where I feel like I can't really tend to an altar, I've realized that they're okay with that and they're always there for me. So that's been actually an incredibly healing thing with all of this work. When I am having more energy to put towards that, I have a pretty simple altar. I have actually just like a little electric light that you can change the color on. So I have that on in the evenings and throughout the night. I'll light just like a candle, say a quick prayer. I've got a couple of different pieces of like small artwork, one hanging on the wall above my altar and then one on the altar itself. And so I'll offer the light of the candle or the smoke from the incense to both of those. And then I'll actually also offer that lighter smoke to myself. So just to really feel like I'm included in all of that. So I feel like those are kind of the main things I think that I do when I'm more on top of all that.
Great, thanks. And I think of winding back around, yeah, to the psychic nerd. This is great. Yeah, so it's because what do you do for an altar? So altars, right, so important for you. And we're saying like, and how long is the season? For you, it's all year round. Maybe special things around this time too.
Yes, so to piggyback on some of what Shannon mentioned a few minutes ago, it is okay sometimes if you can't do it daily, that's fine. Try to do it daily, but it's not required. Our ancestors are always with us. So if you have a lot going on, and you can't get around to it, then you just can't get around to it, right? So don't beat yourself up too badly about it. And one of the things that I do with my altar is I use these spiritual colognes. One of the main ones is called Kananga water. Um, not sure if everyone can see that, but this particular cologne will draw in the ancestors to your altar. I also know that they like tobacco water. So these types of spiritual colognes, you can find them online, but I encourage you to go to a metaphysical shop and support your local business. So if you can't, but if you don't live near a metaphysical shop or anything like that, you can also find these items online. Um, and most shops do have a website for you to order from. Another thing that I use to bring in my ancestors is white copal. You can get it as a resin. You can also get it as an incense. Primarily, I've found mostly incense sticks. You can also get them in cones. So burning copal brings them in as well. And of course, there's also the food offerings. And if you, in terms of items, if you don't have ancestors that you know, you can, I have a white candle that I light, and it's for all my ancestors who are known and unknown. And believe it or not, when you do that, they will start to make themselves present. And you will, get names, or you will start to see a certain symbol or a certain number. And eventually you'll be like, oh, okay. And you'll have this desire to put a particular item or food on your altar. That's a good indication that a new ancestor is either coming in or they're already present for veneration at the altar. And I also have objects for some of my ancestors because I don't have a picture. So if for whatever reason you can't have a picture of your ancestor, then absolutely put a picture of a certain object, or put a certain color down for the altar cloth and things of that nature, piece of jewelry, whatever inspired you. And that's the main thing that I want people to take away. There, unless it's a ceremony, very specific type of ceremony, daily ancestral veneration, it's not a right way or wrong. Well, it's wrong ways to do it, but it's no particular right way to do it. I encourage you to do what speaks to you, or what your ancestors are indicating they would like on the altar, and things that they would like for you to do that they'll enjoy. If you are at the altar and you've made offerings and you want to dance. You want to play music, play music. My ancestors absolutely love. They love music. And so I will often have some type of music playing in the background while I'm doing my daily practice. They like prayers, they like poems, and you can just sit and talk to them. If you don't even have anything, you can just speak with them. That's something that they absolutely love too, because they want to hear about what's going on with you. They want to know how you're doing, and just being present and having that sacred space is what really is important. So if you're, thinking to yourself, how am I going to get all these things? Don't pressure yourself into trying to get certain things. I can go a little bit into things to avoid, Laura.
Sure, go ahead.
So there are two places you do not want to set up your altar. The first one being the restroom. Not only because of what goes on in there, but because it's a high traffic area. And that's the other part. If you have a high traffic area in your house, like your kitchen, a dining room, a foyer, do not put your altar in a high traffic area. It disturbs the energy. You also want to avoid, if you make food offerings, to minimize critters. You kind of want to clean up the food offerings daily, or even every other day. But beyond 2 days, you're gonna want to either just throw it out, or put it in a garbage disposal, bury it in your backyard or something like that. So don't leave food out for too long either. You also don't want to have candles or any kind of flame burning without being present. So when you're done with your daily ritual or your weekly ritual, make sure you extinguish everything, because you don't want a fire to start, right? Some things that you can do. I know someone asked about ancestors and their energy when they pass. It's been so far my experience that even if you had a difficult relationship with a passed on loved one, or someone in your family was known as being difficult, You can make that determination for yourself. Just listen to what your intuition is saying. And if you're comfortable with that, then, go ahead and put them on the altar and include them in your offerings. You can also, and it's not just family. I believe DoveLight mentioned pets, but it can also be close friends who you can venerate as well. And in terms of who you do daily practice with, it can be family. Kids, absolutely include children. If you have them, grandkids, nieces, nephews, they will love it. And it will give them a stronger sense of the family. And it can be a tradition that they pass on and continue to honor us when we have passed away. But in terms of you doing it with your best friend, not necessarily a no, but not a yes either. It comes down to if they were connected to the family in some kind of way, like they were like a really, really close friend. Same thing with in-laws, because this is about you and your family and your lineage. So be careful about doing that, because again, you want to make sure that the energy is good. So just be aware of who you have coming with you to the altar, if it's other than yourself and family.
Great. And you mentioned some breadth of like who it could be that we're connecting with. And there was a question about that too, of like, what if we don't know, and who's included. For me, it's also not direct ancestors. It's the general ancestor lineage and the culture. And like, so I feel connection to all that too. All right, great. Diane, did you want to go back to and say something about how long your altar's up? And I think that question came up after you'd already shared.
For me, I put mine up usually around the beginning of October, as the veil gets thin and we approach Scorpio season. I'm usually called to put it out. My grandmother tends to show up and get really loud. She sent my student even after me this year with a candle, telling me to put it up. So they definitely like to see it up, but I keep it up usually until the 2nd of November. If mine's usually down by the 3rd, if not before then. As far as the positive or negative energies that they can have after life, that they had during life. Sorry, I saw a question here that said, do ancestors maintain their positive or negative energies after life that they had during their life? Sometimes they can. It really kind of depends on what it was that they were dealing with in this life, and if when they crossed over, they were officially able to see things from other perspectives. It's kind of unique to the situation and to the ancestral line. To get into that would be usually a deeper dive into yours. So I would say that sometimes they can, sometimes they don't. Each one's an individual. Would anybody else like to answer that? It's like, to me, it's like it's open to either way.
Yeah, it's great. And you all can jump in with any of these other questions that people have been asking. That's all fine. We don't have to go in order, but just whoever. I just want to make sure we include everyone.
Yeah, the altar of Dia de los Muertos is until the 3rd, but usually after that, I go back to the regular everyday altar. We change with the seasons. You can do an altar when you want to start a new job. You can do an altar when you're going to get married, when you're going to move, when you are going with the seasons. I follow the indigenous Maya calendar, so every time a trecena comes, I do an altar related to the energy of that. Regarding the other, this is another perspective about protection. We do live in a world of shadow and light. There is different levels of consciousness, different dimensions. So when you choose to consciously do your prayers, when you have faith and honor your connection to the divine, You work with whatever your spirits outside, could be your angels, could be your spirit guides, could be your plant allies, and power animals, your ancestors. When you truly do have that connection, they become your protectors. They become your guardians. They let you know when an energy feels off. They let you know. They actually stop people for taking over you. So I absolutely agree that if you are not sure what you're doing, always go to the light, go with cautions, have like a pure intention and ask for protection. But once you do have that relationship and that faith in the truth, that comes automatically. I have a grandmother who doesn't like cheaters, who doesn't like liars. She right away tells me, she right away tells my sister, she right away show people off. Like, it's so interesting. I don't even have to ask her. I work with spirit guides who actually are protecting me, and one of them actually removed people from my life. And I always wonder why they're removing these people. Like, I didn't do anything, or they close something, or they don't let it happen. And now I understand, because I do have a prayer that I do almost daily, that I truly believe, of asking the divine beforehand to please remove anything that is not for my highest good. That's my asking. They just automatically do it now when things happen in my life. Even if a human me be like, oh, why I couldn't go there, why I couldn't meet this person, why this didn't work out. Now I do have that trust, that building. This is a relationship with your life, with your spiritual thing, with the divine, with creator, that this will be your main protection, because through that they will show you, and you will know that they are the ones telling you, because you already have that familiarity with them. Regarding the question about if the ancestors get their negative or positive, it depends. If they're able to cross over, because people are prayers, because they didn't have any unfinished business and all that, they will probably go to the other side and they will start reviewing their life. And it's according to the soul's growth and purpose. Believe it or not, some people actually come to the earth specifically to play a game of learning lessons. And perhaps they actually sacrifice, like Ho'oponopono. I came here to teach you forgiveness, so I have to do something that you need forgiveness. So this person have no karma whatsoever, but he has to pass through that. Other people are actually, again, they don't have any balance to do, and they get hurt, so they need healing. So there is souls that can cross over, that once they get there, their gift of awareness reopens, and they're able to remember all this lifetime, why they're here, why they're not here, and they lose this human lost desire. It's more love and light, and they are able to continue their soul journey. Other ones are more attached to the human lessons, and they're still navigating through them. So automatically going to the other side doesn't make you a saint, because the human experience shape you, and sometimes there are things that the human experience can help you only and shape and grow and expand. There are other type of souls that unfortunately get soul bounded here on earth, and they, because they are not into the light, they actually can be of very, very hurtful nature. They attach to people because they don't have human bodies, and in order to live in the human world, you need to have those chakras in the human and non-physical human running to get the energy. So they start attaching. This is why, from a spiritual perspective, when somebody has an addiction, drug addiction, alcohol addiction, sexual addiction, they're usually the soul-bounded spirits who are attached to their addictions around them. And sometimes you need to find somebody who can actually help you to remove them from your energy field, in order for you to actually have more fluidity in your own choice to release those addiction, if that's what you truly want from your own self. And so it's like Shannon was saying, you can't put one in a square, because there's so much diversity. There's so many souls living their own lessons, their own growing. But I do understand that when the ancestors in the other side are able to heal something from their own soul path that is connected to your family lineage, yours will open here. Sometimes randomly you will feel like a blessing, or something changed and you don't know what it is, but you think you're doing ancestral work here. Well, guess what? The ancestors are doing also their work here, and that's affecting each other. Last but not least, this is very important. When I started working with ancestors, I truly was calling everybody, hey, all my ancestors, even the ones that I don't know, because I never had a nice relationship with the living ones, but I knew through dreams, through synchronicities, through that they were somebody they were watching over me. And I was on a phase of my life like this. Then I was in another phase when I realized, wait a minute, there is drugs addicts, there is people who have addiction. They're not the best people you want to hang out with my ancestry. And so I was cautious on to call upon that energy. I also have one ancestor who was really, really mad at me. I got an entanglement. She was very hurtful that I get to live a life when I can actually be involved in spirituality, and she couldn't. So she was kind of basically jealous. And we have to give her a voice and send her to her own dimension. And that's another thing. So I was like, wait a minute. The ancestral thing is everything not loving, love, and light. So there is things that you have to be cautious, even in the ancestral field. But later on, through my working process, through my inner work, through my experience, later on, I realized when I have a more stronger connection to God, to the goddess, to the source, and I truly understand you, divine one, whatever we call it, you are the original soul. We all come from you in their different forms, in the different shapes. You have the power to heal my ancestors who need the healing. You have the power to heal me. You have the power to help the ones that are my healers, my ancestors that are healers, who are very high consciousness, my ancestors from the stars who came to the earth from my lineage. You do have the power, all comes from you. So when I get to that point, I have that trust, and I know that I can call everybody now, because the ones that are for my highest good, they're walking with me, they're protecting and teaching me. The ones that are not for my highest good, the ones who have dealing with their issues, I am nobody to always keep it in that memory. God knows, maybe they're working their lessons in the other side. Who am I to say anything? But I trust the Archangel Michael, the divine, they're guiding me in their own healing. So when I call to all my ancestors now, it's because I know higher vibration, they're guiding me. Low, whatever lower you want to call it, they're in their own healing. So we are in this one. But once again, these have to come from your own connection to your ancestor, where you feel comfortable, who you choose to call, who don't choose to call. You have to have a basic awareness of what's out there, a basic connection of trust to your spirit guides, to the divine, in order for you to more consciously get into this swim of spirituality, spirits, because everything is not nice and, flowers and pink color. All right, that's a little bit. I hope I make sense.
And just one more thing before you you finish, DoveLight. Your dog is so much more activated than your dog typically is, and I'm just wondering what's happening with the energy with your dog while we're talking about this.
Oh my gosh, she has her Senpasuchi, she has her Halloween. Oh my God, I love her. She's actually a shamanic dog. And animals have the ability to, there is consciousness. So wild animal, if you choose to, if you resonate, wild animals are choosing to live their wild animals life. Domestic animals are choosing to transition to the human experience. So when they live with a human, they're learning about food the humans like. They're getting like connected to a human soul. So they're preparing for the other side. Dogs have a protection or a spiritual gift to help you heal you. Cats are more like the astral. They can also see colors. They can see spirits. So I truly believe it's because of the season. And I also have to honor to protect and pray for our animals too, because their love, yes, their love is so pure that sometimes they can take upon spirits, the negative spirit. Somebody's talking bad about you, or somebody's not wishing you well. And instead of going straight, because people think the dark magic is only like something elaborate. No, the most common dark magic that you can attack somebody, if you hold it in your mind, you hold them in your heart with a negative feeling for so long that you are not aware when you're attacking them. Like that's unconscious dark attacks. So perhaps you are at work with somebody and you get a promotion and that person is jealous, and now this person is talking, oh, and Mary, she got promoted, not me. Who does she think she is? Or perhaps people are like that. People are nice, but there's people who are not. This is a variety. So the dogs or the cat will usually, when it's very strong, will usually take over that energy. And you can clean it from them, but you can stop them from kind of like sacrificing or taking over, because their love is so pure. They sometimes takes upon illnesses. They sometimes takes upon behaviors, like, for example, if you are in a relationship where you don't speak up, your cat will be meowing, oh, like, yeah. You say, why? I took you to the doctor, I took you to the bed, you don't have anything. Because it's showing you how to speak up. Same thing with illness. And it's sad. It's beautiful, the unconditional love, but at the same time, it's not. I wish they will not do that. But yeah, she's very active because of the season. She's very active because of everything that she's smelling from the altar too. Yeah. Okay, back to
That's
you.
great. Thank you. And yes, Shannon, I know you've got your hand up.
Hey, this is Shannon. So yes, that totally makes sense. Both of my cats have been a little extra wild the last couple of days, and I figured that was probably what was up, especially with this panel coming up, and so my ancestors have been especially present. So I guess yes, the question of whether the ancestors, I can't remember exactly how it was worded, how ancestors do the ancestors maintain their positive or negative energies after life that they had during life? And yes, absolutely. Especially with the form of ancestral healing that I studied with called ancestral medicine. It's actually a lot of what those sessions work with is bringing healing to the ancestors in particular lineages. Because for a lot of us, we've been really like our lineages have been cut off from their origins, like from their own practices for whatever reason. So a lot of us have lineages like that have not been tended for a long, long time. So and they kind of, I think part of the tending, at least from my perspective, is helping those ancestors transition easefully so that they don't carry this stuff forward to our present. So yes, absolutely. Both negative and positive. And actually, I think a lot of the negative stuff that gets stuck in lineages or is carried in lineages is actually like kind of what manifests in our living human lives that make things challenging sometimes. I think the psychic nerd was maybe talking about this early, and probably other people too, about how we just sometimes don't know why something is happening in our life or a pattern keeps repeating that we can't change. And I've found that a lot of the times when I go back into my lineages and ask specifically about those patterns or illnesses or whatever it might be, um, and then work with those lineages, then those things actually really shift in my life. So, and in other people's lives as well. I think absolutely there's this, I think as DoveLight said, like kind of this reciprocity. Like we heal the ancestors and they heal us, and it just kind of becomes this really beautiful, like synergistic sort of thing. Um, and then Laureli, I saw that there was a question about the adoption as well. Is it okay to say
Yeah,
something
yeah,
about
go ahead.
that? Okay, cool. I guess so first of all, I'm not adopted, so I can't speak from very firsthand experience with that. But definitely in the modality that I practice, absolutely you can learn more about your lineages. I'm just looking at the wording, where one does not know their lineage or is an orphan. Um, it can definitely, obviously, there are logistical challenges, but the spirits are always there. So as long as you're being intentional about connecting with your loving and compassionate ancestors, and those energetic boundaries are set, so nobody else is coming in, then absolutely you can still connect with those lineages and do healing with those. And it's actually entirely possible to get information about your lineage as well through this work. Just as a personal experience, nobody in either my mother's or father's side of the family had ever mentioned any Scandinavian ancestors. But through this ancestral work and also some shamanic work that I've done, I actually found out that I have Scandinavian ancestors by meeting one of those ancestors. He came through and worked with me for a while. So I don't think that always happens for people, but it is definitely possible to actually find ancestors that you didn't know you had in different origins. And then you can always do like a DNA test or something to confirm that as well if you're curious. But yeah, thanks.
Great, great. Thank you. Diane? Or yeah, I think Diane and then whoops, maybe I got the wrong order. Psychic nerd and then
Yeah,
Diane and then Leslie.
Yeah, so
Lorelai, is it? Okay.
on the
Sorry.
topic of healing ancestors, I actually have this book that is in my library that I haven't read it all the way through, but I've read some of it. And it is Heal Your Ancestors to Heal Your Life. Oh goodness, this background of mine. Hold on.
If you hold yourself, I'd put it in front, it might work, but
Yeah, nope, that's not
no,
working.
okay.
Okay. Um, let's see here. All right.
Yeah, we should be able to see it now.
Yeah, for sure. So this is the title of the book, Heal Your Ancestors to Heal Your Life, and the author is Shelley E. K here, K EHR. And it's not, that particular book isn't necessarily about ancestral veneration. What she does do is give you regression meditations and exercises that you can do to help facilitate ancestral healing. Um, and so that's something that is absolutely helpful because, like a few other people have mentioned already, myself included, you inherit the trauma of your ancestors. You inherit their problems. You even inherit some of their bad habits, right? So to clear up that stuff for us, we have to go back into our lineage and clear it up for them. And the good thing about doing it, though, is that you clearing it up, you have paved the way for things to be better for future generations. So that way they don't have these struggles and you're not passing, these struggles onto them. And I think someone had a question about ancestors that have yet to be born. They're not necessarily ancestors, but you can have future family come to you. I have actually had that experience, and it's usually the way it came in for me is that this is a soul contract that I have with this particular future person in the family. So absolutely, you doing ancestral veneration and healing, it can bring in energy of a person not yet here, physically in the 3D realm. So if that happens, it's not a bad thing. Actually, if that happens, I would take it as an indication that you are on the right track with what it is you're doing. Because they may actually have a message for you or things like that. And then there was another one that I saw here.
I attempted to put them all towards the bottom.
Yeah. Someone else asked,
Well,
oh, do ancestors start showing themselves through dream synchronicities if you don't know them? Yes, absolutely they will. Absolutely. I did a meditation and an ancestor from, I mean, she's from like ancient times. She's from pre-colonization of anything across the world. Like she's very far back. And during the meditation, she showed up during that meditation, and I felt her presence. As a matter of fact, I think she's here right now. I know my mom is here, so if you see me looking to the left, that's where my altar is. But my mom likes to come in on this side. But they will show up. Like I said, if you see repeating numbers, if you see repeating objects, if you keep meeting people with the same names, say you meet someone, you meet 4 people in a month and they all have the name Terry. Right? So they will give you signs if you keep finding feathers or money or whatever. You keep hearing the same song, and it's a song that you never heard before, but you turn it on the radio or it's a jingle in a commercial. Those are signs that an ancestor has either already come in or they're on their way in, and they will absolutely show up in your dreams as well.
great. Thank you. We've got Diane and then Leslie.
I'm going to agree with the psychic nerd as far as a lot of what she said. Yeah, there are ancestors who haven't been born yet that can come in. I wouldn't call them an ancestor necessarily either. However, I did have the spirit of one of my children come to me before they were actually born. So I knew I was meant to be a mother at a very, very early age. I started seeing at 6 years old. So my experiences go back a while. As far as Sorry if there was another question I was going to answer. But I apologize. There was another question I was going to answer, but it's escaping me at the moment.
There was
The
one too
ancestors
about parallel timeline.
Well, time is
Yeah.
time isn't linear, so parallel. Yeah, time is like an infinite spiral that is always evolving and revolving around itself. And I don't necessarily say parallel, but I would say that they are definitely out there and connected to you still. Oh, orphans. Um, I was adopted by my stepfather. He came into my life before I was a year old, and what I can say is that I was accepted into my stepfather's family line, and through different ancestral healings and through different meditations, I have found that they have come to me just as much as my biological father and through his line. So I have connected with many ancestors that I have not actually gotten any physical knowledge of, like in this life, outside of my practice. But through meditation, through different healers and different ritual practices, shamanic practices, especially, I've been able to connect with them. I've been able to hold conversations with them. I've been taught different shamanic practices even from them as I was being guided to do different works. So they will still connect with you if you have intentions and want, to connect with them. There are ways to, find out names, just like this the psychic nerd was saying. Yeah, they show up. You'll meet people with a name repetitively. Mine started coming in my dreams pretty active and pretty regular for quite a while as I was connecting and really trying to understand some of my gifts and some of the lineage that was presenting itself to me, because I didn't have any knowledge of it in this life for myself, but it started presenting itself. And the more we connect, the more that you set those intentions and follow your intuition as far as what they're guiding you to, you can open more of those channels and really receive from them the same way.
Great, thank you. Are you all set? We'll go to Leslie.
Yeah.
So
Great.
I just wanted to reiterate the piece about bringing negative energies in, and not necessarily just because they've passed over that suddenly all of that gets erased. I work a lot with talking about reincarnation and about how souls evolve, and that there are 4 levels of soul evolution as you go through your lifetimes. And you usually start the first few lifetimes out traveling in a soul group. And a lot of times people who were a family member in one lifetime come in as a different family member in another lifetime. I know that I personally had to work very hard with ancestral energies. I had a grandma who was mean and angry and controlling, and there was a lot of generational trauma from even her ancestors before her. So I did some when she passed, I did some intense ritual. I called in some very, very powerful priestesses to work with me on trying to heal that ancestral energy so that it didn't keep getting passed down. I felt like a boulder being rolled down. It was so powerful. And so we did a lot of work on that. And one of the things I needed to do to heal that ancestral energy was to physically remove her from the area where she lived her whole life and spread her ashes in someplace really beautiful and peaceful and healing. And she was pretty pissed off about that at first, which was amazing to me. But I do believe that as time went on, that the healing has taken hold. I also wanted to say that I do believe that there are parallel universes, and yes, ancestors may be there. Others who we've had in contact with in different lifetimes may be there. I'm not an expert on how to contact people in parallel universes, but I do believe, if you know anything about quantum physics, um, which is such a huge and amazing and wonderful subject. Uh, Definitely things are happening in other times, um, in other universes that so time isn't necessarily linear. So I do believe that our ancestors are existing in multiple parallel universes. Just to address that one piece.
Yeah, it's great. And then maybe I just want to jump in and say one thing, Psychic Nerd, before you keep going. I was looking for it, but I don't have it in this house. I have it in my other office. Back in college, my best friend, my roommate, when she traveled to Europe one summer at the beginning of our college, she sent me back a postcard that's an Austrian ossuary, and it's painted skulls and just stacked different bones. And I love this postcard. And so I've been carrying it around all this time. And I was looking to see if I could find the postcard to show you. But I found some images online too. So to me, it's all just connected. And I'll just share my screen super briefly so you can see it. If that shows up, you can see the photo of, and then it's beautiful. So done for each being. Yeah. There's all of our different traditions, just all these great things that we do. Yeah. And I have some of my relatives that the same lineage Leslie were talking about, they passed through Austria, Germany for half a generation or so. So yeah, part of the meaning to me. But sometimes it's where we travel, where our relatives, our ancestors have traveled to, not only like biological and cultural lineage that way. Yeah. All right. The psychic nerd, go ahead.
So another way that ancestors will come in is other ancestors you're already venerating, they will bring ancestors with them. They're like, oh, heck, yeah. Come on. I'll show you exactly where this is happening for us. And also, I've had this happen recently. Relatives from a past life. These are people I never met, but somehow in a past life, they were a spouse, a sibling, aunt, uncle, something like that. And also one of the ways I have communicated with my ancestors, and I had this deck of oracle cards on my altar for a long time for my ancestors to charge them, but this is Ancestor Spirit Oracle cards by Jade Sky. And so they're actually cards from many different cultures, and they have messages on the bottom. And it's a good way to kind of get insight into what your ancestors believe should be done by you, what actions to take for your healing and or their healing as well. And they're just very beautifully done. Also comes with a guidebook, but it covers cultures from all over the world, Latin cultures, South Pacific cultures, cultures, and from Africa, even Aboriginal, some of the artwork. So it's very, very beautiful. And like I said, I actually have pulled cards daily during my veneration from this deck to speak with my ancestors, say what's a message you would like for me to keep in mind? What do you have for me today in terms of what to look out for, or a message you want to share? And I will pull a card and go about my day trying to take that specific action or keep it in my mind to try and do later on in the week, if I can't do it that day, because life life uh, has to be lived. But that's another way that you can communicate with your ancestors, and it doesn't have to be this particular oracle deck. It can be through other oracle decks. It can be through tarot cards. But again, they will find a way to speak to you. So don't be surprised if you're having dreams and things of that nature.
That's great. Thank you. I know we're going to have Shannon and DoveLight, and I want to mention too, if anyone wants to ask a specific question, a personal question, we'd love to answer your question. It is sliding scale. It's 20 to 28 or $12 for BIPOC folks as a step of making reparations. Please just pay on PayPal or Venmo, or let me know if you need another way to pay, and we will jump in and answer your question. All right, go ahead, Shannon, and then DoveLight.
Hey, this is Shannon. I just had a quick thing to add on to what Diane said earlier, about connecting. At least I believe this is what you're referring to, Diane. I apologize if I misunderstood you, but connecting with your adopted lineages as well. I've also seen people do that. And then also, it's actually possible to work with step family lineages. And those can actually sometimes have a really powerful impact on the living as well. Like I've been doing this work for myself for maybe 2 or 3 years, and there was just something that was like not shifting. I was like, what is going on here? And I realized it was like actually not in my blood and bones lineages. It was a step family thing. And just even one session with them really helped like shift things a lot. So there are lots and lots of possibilities with this work.
Great. Thank you, DoveLight.
No, I agree with that because you might not even know who your ancestors are, but they know who you are. And as long as you have the good intention or clear intention that you wish to connect, they will start coming. I wrote in the chat that through dreams, through synchronicities, a lot of the ancestral healing that took place or information, I get it through my mediumship practices in the sense. And it was like, wow. And then I could confirm with different family members. I will not tell them I was doing my spiritual work, but I asked them stories and things like that. So yes, you might not know who they are, but they know you and they will guide you. So it is very important to have that clear. Even it's about respect. It's about you building a relationship. We can show you how to do an altar. We can tell you all that, but it has to come from your heart. And if you can, in doing altars or doing prayers or doing offerings, it doesn't have to be too elaborate. It doesn't have to be too simple. It's your intention. It's the energy that you're bringing. That's what the spirits are seeing. And about the ancestors being are there ancestors who are not yet in body? Of course, it has to do with the soul group. We are meant to love each and everyone the same way that God loves us. So we are mastering love, and love can be different for all of us. So we have different lessons. But in essence, there are souls who are more connected to us because we repeat past life, we repeat lessons. So for example, my nephew was my grandfather in another lineage. In the past, I was able to identify him right away. And that's why we have so much similarity, so much affinities through the shamanic work. Like I don't have to tell him or force him not, he naturally is good at connecting at prayer. But it has to do more with their soul group. Like we're part of the same soul group. So your future children, even a baby who's born, he will be the grandfather of somebody tomorrow. So it's about honoring and respecting life. So you keep yourself in the presence, grounded and rooted, and you respect our life, because people who were born before us and people who will be born after us, we all come from the source, from the oneness. And through respecting life, we are honoring life. We're honoring the ancestors. We're honoring the descendants. So yes, it is possible. There are ancestors in a parallel timeline. I don't think there is not only ancestors, there is only different realities of all of us if you resonate, because imagine the way the self multiplies, and we are the cells of Mother Earth, and the planets are the cells of the universe, and the universe of the galaxies and all that. To my personal perspective, in my humbleness, I absolutely believe that we do have parallel timelines. And sometimes we can tap into that, especially if we have to make a very strong choice about life changing and we think about it too much, we put too much energy, we ended up taking one, but the other one can be lived through a different dimension of parallel timing. But once again, it is very important to you get focused and grounded in the present moment, because the gift of life is in the present moment. And I think that's a little bit about that. And yeah, that's it.
Great, thank you. Diane's got more to add.
Yeah, I was just actually, I apologize, one of you ladies mentioned it, but we connect with more than just this life's ancestors. I know for a fact that I've connected with mine from my soul's existence, not just in this life, but past lives. So, if uh, you have repeated dreams of a different timeline, of a different person from another timeline, things like this, especially after you've gone through different practices trying to call in your ancestors, it may not be one from this life. It may actually be from your soul's existence. So it is completely possible, and they want to help you too. They're constantly with you on your soul's evolution. Some of them come in and, this life, and then some of them will skip a life or two before they come in again. So you're still energetically connected, and they still want to help guide you, protect you, offer you different lessons, different tools from your other lives, and continue to offer you that ancestral practice and healing. Thought it was important to kind of add that in there.
Yep, great. All right. Well, we have been spending a bit of time chatting about this subject. So are there any other general questions from the audience? And does anyone have a personal question you want to ask? We'd love to dive in and do some examples with someone. And yeah, and if you prefer to work privately with people, that's great too. Panelists have specials, so you have a chance to work with them later. Yeah, go ahead, DoveLight.
I'm receiving the strong intuition to say that sometimes people, when we're in the human consciousness, we have the ability to hurt others. Sometimes there is abuse and violence, and the people ended up crossing to the other side. And sometimes there is a feeling that there was no closure, that there is something undone. And the people who are still remaining alive here as human form, they might hold that resentment, the anger, they asking for a why. Why did this happen to me? Why this person did this to me? When they go to the other side, most of the time, if they're able to iron their energy, their soul level, this perspective, they will understand that what they did to you was wrong. But at the time, they didn't have the consciousness to acknowledge it or to really, really, really properly understand it. So sometimes, please do not waste your life waiting for a why or apologize from this energy, because you might not have it. But what you can choose to do is to find reconciliation within your heart. And I know it's hard to do sometimes. It's not about denying the pain that you pass through. It's just about honoring that if you get stuck on that situation, you're gonna waste your time in bitterness, and it's not fair for you to do that for somebody who is not even here anymore, who didn't have that awareness. I just wanted to honor that, because as soon as you say somebody has a question, I got that intuition. So I pray that whoever was thinking about it, may you receive clarity.
Oh, great. Shannon had something.
Yeah, just to kind of second what you're saying, DoveLight. And yeah, I've also had like personal experiences and seen other people have experience with ancestors who were really, really awful, like as living humans, to work with them and to actually find forgiveness for them. And for me personally, like now a couple of those people are actually some of my best guy buddies, I guess. Like they're people I work with a lot and that I have a lot of love for. And yeah, just not something I would have expected at all given how they were in life. So
Yeah, thank you. Psychic nerd.
So just put two of the resources that I myself have and have used about ancestor veneration. This one is honoring your ancestors. To get some people started if they want to set up an altar for daily practice. And then this one is called Badass Ancestors. And to actually piggyback on what Shannon was just saying, the author of this book, she goes early on, actually, she goes into working with ancestors who were not so great as human beings. Like within, I think, the first or second chapter, she talks about an ancestor she found out was absolutely awful, horrible human being. And she struggled with do I even want to acknowledge this ancestor, let alone venerate them and put them on the altar. Ultimately, she does, but it's a process, just like Shannon and everyone else has said. It is a process. And it's not an easy process, but keep in mind, you should do your best to clear up that energy and heal from the trauma and the not so great relationship, because if you can't, or because if you don't, it gets passed on to the next generation, right? And we know it's been proven scientifically, as a matter of fact, that trauma passes down from generation to generation. So try to heal that energy and make it into something positive so that you don't pass it down the lineage. You know, I think that's one of the other parts that is important with ancestral veneration, right? Because we can at least reduce, not necessarily clear up all of it or stop all of it or anything like that, but we can at least reduce some of it going forward, which is one of the reasons why I mentioned having children be a part of ancestral veneration, whether you do it daily or if it's a specific ceremony or what have you, because they will also do it. And it will help add on to clearing out this negative energy and this trauma that's been passed down, one generation after the next. And I'm going to go ahead and talk about the elephant in the room real quick. It doesn't matter what your lineage is. Everyone's lineage has trauma, right? So don't worry about the avatar that you are embodying in this lifetime. There is family energy, ancestral energy as well, that you are going to want to clean up. And I am a testament to how ancestral veneration has helped. I still have work to do with my ancestors, but it cleared out some things. And I was just amazed how things changed and how I was able to manifest certain things in my life. It really does have benefits for them and for you. So try not to be too resistant with, I don't want to work with that ancestor. I don't want them on my altar. I don't even want to think about them. It's difficult, yes, but that means that it is worth doing.
Thank you. This makes me think of someone mentioned, I have an idea, but I'm not sure who was it, that puts something on the four corners, the four directions, as a protection. Was that you, Leslie? I was wondering. Remind us what that is, and it just seemed like shielding and protection is one of the skills that's really important in doing this. Yeah, Leslie, if you could just say what that was,
It
and
was
then
an onion cut into quarters.
onion. Okay, it was an onion. I have like a clear something. Okay, yeah, an onion. Great, great, great. And one of the questions is, what if there's an ancestor that wants to be on your altar, but the individual does not want that ancestor on the altar, right? So all these different things. So let's see. So I know we've got Diane and DoveLight and the Psychic Nerd all in line. So maybe if there's anything about the protection first, and then like kind of find our way back in here. So Diane, does yours have to do with this topic? Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, one of the things I was guided to do with mine was actually put cat eye obsidian, black obsidian, um, on the four corners to help with the protection. Um, and it also actually is something that I do have my children participate in because my children have extended family. Their father, he's not with us, so his family, they've had a lot of people pass in the last couple of years, and my kids have those connections, so they put those pictures up on our altar, and they put out different pictures, different things that connect them with those spirits, especially my oldest, because he has a lot more vivid memories, and he has fortuitous dreaming and a bunch of other gifts as well. So he really connects with them. I will say that there are a few of them that in real life, they didn't have the greatest energy. And I found that to be a bit challenging at first to have them on my altar. However, I was guided to understand that we could work with them and we could heal some of the generational trauma wounds that my son and my kids had been dealing with. So I found it to be a great blessing and healing experience to have them up on our altar the last couple of years. And my children have been making leaps with understanding their ancestral trauma and just kind of letting go of it already at such young ages. So I definitely encourage people to get your kids involved. They are so intuitive and so connected, and most of the time they're being protected and shielded in ways that you're not even aware of yet. And the kids can just sense it. So it really offers them a sense of peace in the practice as well. Perfect time, Lorelai. I just finished up.
Yeah, it's great. Thank you. And so DoveLight's next.
What happens if there is an ancestor that wants to be in your altar, but the individual does not want the ancestor on the altar? Well, first of all, in order for you to know that an ancestor wants to be in the altar, that you don't want that, that means that you were able to identify any type of spirits that you don't want in your area, in your energy field, in your altar. You must be able to identify. Even when we help soul bands to cross over to the light, we cannot cross them if we don't know who they are. We're not able to identify them. So how do you start identifying energies? Again, your meditation, your prayer, your connection to your gift. That's a must. And once you have that, if you truly do have an ancestor that you don't want in your altar, you don't have to put it there. You do not have to put it there. You don't have to. Forgiveness, it's a miracle. It makes gift. It heals a lot of the ancestral knowledge. But if you're not ready to forgive, if you're not ready to reconcile in your heart, honor that, because sometimes we need the space, to the safe space to express our feelings, to express our hurt before even acknowledging. Yes, you're my ancestor, but I am my own person. One of the most healing gifts and balances of the whole spider web of the ancestral heal is to honor your space. You are in your present. Your parents, let's talk about the parents later. Your grandfather, your grandmother, they're ancestors. They're backing you up. They're yours. They help you, but they will never are to put like a burden on you. That's not what it's about, because they also have their own life lesson. You also have your own life lesson. You have the right to say no. You do have the right to say no if that's how you feel comfortable. I get to a point in my own journey when I understand that they were humans, they have the same opportunities to heal or not, or perhaps they didn't, but they're just humans. They were not God. So, for example, my grandfather, he was like a monster, and he did horrible things to my mom, and my mom was very horrible to me. If I was a moment when I didn't want nothing to do with my mom. I used to hate her, and I couldn't forgive her until I let my hurt or my complaint or my ranting, whatever you call it, out. And then I'm going to go after my grandfather. And then I was able to my spiritual work, to identify that he was also an abused person. And then I'm going to go against the church who abused him as a kid. Now I'm going to go I'm actually now expanding my energy and debilitating myself, getting away from the present. Sometimes the most spiritual healing that you get in Ancestral is just listen to their stories, acknowledge them. That's it. You exist, you do have your experience, and then you choose if you want to be part of it or not. You're still going to be connected one way or another. Now, there are times when people do soul contracts with certain lineages when they are meant to be working on something specific. If you did a soul contract when you're meant to continue the family lineage, the family tradition, or something like that, that's gonna be on you. Like even if you resist it, you're only gonna get weaker, you're gonna get sick, there is gonna start casualties happening. And it's not because your ancestor is trying to be spooky to you, it's because you do have a mission. I'm sorry, you do have a soul mission. You do have a soul mission that you sign up for before coming. And if you don't fulfill it, and you usually feel it in your soul, if you don't fulfill it, you're going to start getting sick, you start getting miserable, things happen in your life. This is why it's not good to romanticize spirituality or shamanism or healing. It's not about the funny part, it's actually the opposite. So in those cases, yes. Now, one of the things that is very important to acknowledge is that the most horrible people, the most addict people, the most terrible people in our lineage are the most wounded, and they hold the key to the fluidity of the points, of the energy points. But you can only work with them when you feel ready, and you are not to work alone. This is why I again myself, you have to have your connection with your spiritual guides, when your spiritual thing, with the divine creator, the source. You just don't go out there to the spiritual world like, wee, you know. It's very important to honor that. And also listening. We came to this world to get to know ourselves. And when we're navigating ancestral healing, we also getting to know ourselves. So yes, you do have the ability to say no if you choose to do so. So you don't have to work with them. But the recommendation will be at your own way, at your own pace, to try to find some reconciliation. Even your connection with your mom and your dad is one of the most important things for the fluidity of life. And you might not like your mom, you might not like your dad, you might even not know who your dad is, you know, but there must have some type of acceptance and reconciliation in your heart. You're not looking for their approval, you're not trying to change in them, you only are acknowledging the situation as it is and making peace for you to keep moving forward. So yes, I've been in situations in ancestral lineage when they want to take too much over, and you have the ability to say no. That's the gift that you actually bring into your ancestral lineage, your uniqueness, your path, your soul being. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, DoveLight. We've got the psychic nerd and then Shannon.
Yeah, so in terms of protection, what I do is I'm actually relatively simple in that I just say a prayer and be sure to call in all my angel guides, my spirit guides, and all of that. But what I showed earlier with the two colognes, this one, the Kananga water, and the tobacco water, those specifically, I know will draw in ancestors. That is what ancestors love. So that's why I put one or both on the altar, because I know it's going to bring my ancestors in. But feel free to do, what Diane said she does, or Leslie, or listen to your own intuition about how you want to do it, in terms of protecting yourself, protecting your space. But like I said, I just put out certain colognes and burn certain incense, and say a prayer and ask, my spirit team to, come in with my ancestors to provide that protection. Archangel Michael, he's like the best one to call upon when you're doing anything. And so I will usually call upon him to come in and be that captain of the spirit guide team, if you will, because that is his role. He is the guy for spiritual protection. And don't worry, he can be in multiple places at once. In terms of the question that was asked, reading it, I'm going to answer it this way, and it's two different ways I'm going to answer it. So if you have an altar and it's set up, and you have one ancestor who's on the altar and who's coming during veneration, and you have another one and weird stuff starts to happen, then it's probably an indication that the two ancestors, they were in conflict in life, right? So either take one off the altar, take both of them off the altar, or do that healing ancestral work. that is my recommendation, but be careful about the conflict between them spreading into your life. Like if you have stuff that starts going on that's just like you're like, okay, I'm sick, or um I got laid off, or my house is being, my rental unit is being sold. Okay, you know what? Regroup, take both of them off the altar, do some healing work, put one back up there and the other back up there, right? So, you're going to want to, if things are going sideways, clear up the energy as best you can. Now, in terms of you having an altar set up, there's a certain ancestor or past loved one that is on the altar, and a person that you live with or another family member doesn't want that particular ancestor on the altar, either do your veneration practice by yourself, put them up there, do your thing, take it off, or tell that person to step off. It's as simple as that, because it is your veneration practice. You do what is best for you based on your intuition and the signs and synchronicities of what your ancestors are giving to you. So, in terms of someone currently here not liking someone on the altar, too bad, so sad. They can do their own practice, or you just ignore them and do your thing by yourself, and then it's their turn either before or after you. Hope that helps.
Great, thank you. I appreciate your passion for this and how much you know. All right, Shannon's next.
Hey, this is Shannon. So kind of, I think I'm just going to be reiterating some of what the psychic nerd and DoveLight said. But for me, a lot of this practice is like working with the ancestors and connecting with them and building relationships with them is about sovereignty. That's actually been a big gift that I've received through all of this. I've found that certain ancestors have shown up at certain times so that I can learn certain things. And then also, like, as we've maybe talked about a little bit, it's also a very reciprocal thing where the ancestors themselves, they're not kind of just like these, at least in my perspective, they're not just like these abstract beings that we're imagining into existence. They're actually people that have lived in the past. They have their own personalities. It's just like any relationship between any two humans where sometimes you have to set boundaries. Sometimes somebody's going to want something and you're not able to give it for whatever reason. So for me, it's actually been and for other people I've seen as well, it's been a practice of saying, no, like I'm not comfortable working with you right now. Please step back a couple of steps, and working to figure out what works for both people, like the ancestor and the living human in that relationship. So I think the short version is it's absolutely okay to not have anybody on your altar that you do not want there. And often also, I think there's something underneath that to be looked at. Not like a problem to be solved or that something needs to be fixed or whatever, but just to see what that dynamic is that's going on there.
Great, thank you. Psychic nerd, you got something else? Go ahead.
Yes. So this is something I don't think has been addressed yet. Sometimes your ancestors will come in and then they're gone. They may be in, they may come in for one day, or they may come in for 10 years, and then all of a sudden they're not coming to the altar anymore, or any kind of celebration that you do. It's don't be upset as you having done the ceremony or your veneration practice wrong. It's entirely possible that they taught you, they came in to show you something or teach you something. Another reason could be they're getting ready to reincarnate and come back to this 3D reality, or they may have decided to go ahead and move on to another dimension, or to go back to source and be a part of source and just exist that way. So just know that sometimes the ancestors, they'll come in, they'll help you, you help them, and then they're gone again. So, if you take something from the altar and you stop putting it up there, or you stop, sensing their presence, or something like that, they've probably moved on, but don't take it as you messed up. It's likely, again, they're going back to source, they're going back to another dimension. They taught you what it is they wanted to teach you, or they are getting ready to reincarnate and come back to this plane.
Great. Yeah. Any other general questions on the topic? We have a chance for one personal question if someone wants to ask a personal question of the panel. And yeah, panelists, any other things that you want to share or bring up? Go ahead, Leslie.
I would just agree.
Oh, go ahead, Diane. Yeah, Diane and then Leslie, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I would agree with the psychic nerd on the fact that if there is someone that you absolutely do not want to put on the altar, for example, my son had one this year, and I couldn't put it on my altar, but I did help my son get the supplies and create his own and put his own intentions. And it helped him actually energetically make some shifts as he took the time and did it. So even if it doesn't necessarily connect with you, if you're a parent, it's still okay to help them learn how to do these practices and to create that space for themselves. We're all on a healing journey, and our children need that support and guidance, even if we don't necessarily have the same trauma or the same issues with someone as they might. So I totally encourage that. And I have to second almost everything verbatim for what the psychic nerd said, following the rest of it. She's covering it.
And, and our kids, they have a different experience. So they may be more able to heal things that we're not. Right. So of service to us to support them.
Yes, definitely.
Great.
Always support them. They are so connected.
I know Leslie had something, and then the psychic nerd.
So I just wanted to bring up a couple of other ways that people from different cultures interact with ancestors that I learned when I was doing my research, stuff that we haven't touched on. I have one of my high priestesses worked a lot with the Mien Vietnamese who came here after the Vietnam War. She worked very closely with them, teaching English, and she learned a lot about their traditions. And one of the things that was very important for them in honoring their ancestors was if there was a new baby going to come in, that they would have to introduce the baby to the ancestors. If someone got engaged to be married, they would present the person who was going to join the family to the ancestors. And I just thought those were really lovely customs. Because when a new family member is coming in, it's like an introduction to the ancestry. And like in our culture, sometimes I don't know much about my ancestors because they came through Ellis Island, and literally I have to go up on like genealogical websites to find out about this. But if you have customs like that that carry that through, that's you don't have to go on a search. It's like you have this addition to your identity right from the get-go when you join the family. And I just wanted to share those as different ways that you can honor the ancestors.
All right, great. I think the psychic nerd has something to share, and then we've got another general question.
Yeah, so I just remembered something else, and ancestors love on the altar: coffee. Coffee will also bring them in. Let me tell you something. And specifically, I put a mug of coffee on my altar. My mother was a coffee drink. Hi, Mom. My mother was a coffee drinker. I put that mug of coffee on the altar, and she's right. She's here with me just talking about it. And she was a cigarette smoker, right? So I have the cigarette on there, I have the mug up there. But if one of my friends, he's up to like, he puts his coffee in like little like espresso glasses or shot glasses, like as many different mugs, salt or mugs, teacups, shot glasses he could put. He's up to like, I think about 30-ish things of coffee that he does and puts on his altar when he does his daily practice. So they love coffee. They absolutely love coffee. To answer the question, any reason to not have any ancestors visit? It goes back to what we've talked about earlier. Maybe you didn't have a good relationship with them. Maybe you found out they weren't a great person, or you could put them on the altar and they start causing problems. It could also be, oftentimes ancestors aren't on the altar because we're not aware of them, right? So it varies. The reason varies. Those are just specific reasons that I can think of.
I guess it occurs to me too that someone that wanted to could potentially attempt to interfere in the connection too. So there could be things like that to clear.
Absolutely. Sometimes they they can force their way in onto your altar. Be mindful of that. Don't let them bully you. Don't let them bully you. You know, just because they're your ancestors doesn't mean that you have to work with them if you don't want to. And you can tell them kindly, not right now, or I don't have the ability to work with you. Just, whatever. And you can do things like get the white sage and just be like, I need you to leave. Right? I need you to leave. Do the things that will protect you and your other ancestors and the energy of your altar to kind of ward off that ancestor. Most of the time, if you talk to them, they will be respectful, right? They're like, okay, my bad. I didn't mean I didn't mean to bulldoze in, but all right, I'll patiently wait, right? Sometimes ancestors will bring someone who does, they'll bring another ancestor who doesn't want to be there, but they need to be there, right? So that also happens. Keep in mind, again, any ancestor that is bullied and coming in forcefully or doesn't want to be there, it's tolerable if there's short-term minor disruptions, like you may not feel too good or something in your house might break. They're like, this microwave, I've had it for years and now it's broken. So, but when things return back to normal, you're like, okay, that was probably, someone being resistant to being there or trying to bully their way into your practice. So if it's short term and it's minor stuff, that's okay. But if it's something major and it's ongoing, take them off, get them to leave, whatever it is you got to do.
It got me thinking of the comedy. There could be like one ancestor that's bringing another ancestor. That one doesn't want to come, but the other one's bringing it. Like, no, you need to come.
Yeah, and they will do that. I haven't experienced that, but I know it's a thing because I've had I had one ancestor brought in a passed on relative from this lifetime. And I was like, oh, hey, how you doing? I mean, and I thought the ancestor just kind of showed up, but no, he was brought in by another ancestor. And so that is also a thing. They will also bring passed on pets. Just know that they will bring animal guides as well. They will also sometimes bring other guides, angel guides, other spiritual guides. So they will bring in guides to you as well that may not necessarily be ancestors. but are beneficial to you or to you doing the work necessary to heal the lineage.
Great. Well, let's see. I know we're going to finish up relatively soon, and we've currently got Leslie, Diane, and Shannon in line. Go ahead, Leslie.
So a couple things to what she was talking about not wanting to, that's what the psychic nurse said about saying, I don't want to work with you right now. When I was taught about holding the dinner party for the dead, I was taught that we should actually, at the beginning of the ritual, just say, I ban so-and-so from coming, because you can actually just say you're not welcome to spirits you don't want to work with right now. So that's one thing that I thought of. When she mentioned the coffee on the altar, it made me think of times I used to go walking in cemeteries a lot. And I love walking in old cemeteries. And I have actually come across graves where people have um, set up food and other things for their dead, things that they loved. And I know Diane touched on this before about it. And you know, in the old days, they actually would bring the food from the ceremonies to the cemetery at the end of the night. I have one time I found the gravestone of a young boy, and it had a baseball and Doritos. And then another time I went back to the cemetery and there was a gravestone with, it looked like birthday balloons and a bottle of Hennessy. So I love when I stumble across those kinds of offerings, something other than just the traditional idea of flowers in a cemetery.
Great. Let's see. We've got Diane, and then Shannon, and then DoveLight, and then Psychic Nerd.
Okay, I was just going to touch on the spirits that you don't necessarily want at your altar. To give an example, we had more than a couple pedophiles in our family history, and I don't call them into my altar. And there are family members who have passed on that would care to bring them in. However, just like Shannon said in the Psychic Nerd, I put limitations. I tell them, I very clearly, when I go to light my candle and say my prayers, that this family member is not welcomed in my home or at my altar, and I keep that space. So communicating it, setting the intention as you light your candles, as you light your sage, or copal is what I use during this time of year. But you can set up your boundaries for who comes in, and it's not that I don't have forgiveness for that spirit, or you can't still work on clearing that ancestral trauma. We definitely have done that. However, we don't necessarily have to offer them space and allow them in. So, highly recommend set healthy boundaries, even with your spiritual team, your ancestors. All right, I'll let the next one.
Thanks, Diane, then Shannon, then DoveLight, then Psychic Nerd.
Hey, this is Shannon. So I'm just looking at the chat here to refresh my memory about the question. So looking at the one for if there's any reason you do not have any ancestors visit. So I wasn't sure if the person who asked that meant if there's like a particular ancestor that they want to visit that's not visiting, or if you are not having any, like nobody showing up at all. So for that latter thing, I think there's like a couple different things that come to mind for me. Kind of maybe the first place to start, just depending on where you're at with connecting with spirits and that whatnot, is if that's something you have experience with. Because this can be pretty loaded stuff to connect with your ancestors. So sometimes I find that sometimes in myself, if I don't have a ton of confidence in what I'm doing, or a ton of experience with a particular thing, it's almost kind of just this barrier that my system puts between me and whoever I'm trying to connect with. So there could be that. I actually find that working with a practitioner, it can be really useful. And, whether it's ancestral healing or any sort of intuitive practitioner that can hold space for you at the very least, well, I say that as if that's like a minor thing. Sorry, I shouldn't. That's not what I mean. Actually, I feel like the holding space is actually kind of like, it's actually really key sometimes for working with these ancestors. It creates like a really safe boundary, and you know that somebody's there to help guide you and to back you up, and they've got your back if something comes up. And so in cases like that where it's been challenging to connect with anybody, I find that like just knowing that I've got somebody there to guide me through this process and to kind of steer things if things kind of start to go off course, that actually has allowed me to go a lot deeper and connect with different beings that I might not have been able to connect with myself. So I think that's mostly what I was going to say about that. Thank you.
Great, thanks. All right, we've got, I think, DoveLight on the psychic nerd next.
Me?
I think DoveLight, you have in line to share something. Yes, go ahead.
Oh, okay. First of all, we should not complicate life too much. We must complicate sometimes more than it's simple. If it resonates for you, it feels good, good. If it feels bad, it doesn't resonate, or even if you're doubtful, just know. That's it, simple. Your main connection to the divine, to your spirit eyes, to your guides will help you to move away energies that are not for your highest good or bring up what you need to know. It's not like suddenly they're going to come for you or something. If you are ready at the level that you are in your path to receive their teachings, to heal a situation, to become awareness, they will let you know one way or another. If they're not ready for you, it will not happen to you. I have an experience too where one of my cousins, he was to drug addiction, and he fell into a train in the public transportation. And he didn't want, his death was tragically, we were very sad. He didn't want no altar. He didn't want to be in nothing, in offerings or anything after he passed away. He just wanted her mom to talk to the picture. He felt like at the moment of his consciousness that he didn't want no altar, no gift, no nothing, because he knew what he has been doing through, and he felt like he was not needed, but that was his request. So it's not like, oh, because I have this ancestor, I have to bring it totally. No, sometimes they don't want to. And that's why, how do you know? You just have to listen. That's it. If it's proper, do it. If it's not, they will let you know, or you will feel off. Simple as that. Another thing, for example, there is an alcohol problem in my family, especially through my dad's side. Not even to this day, I'm willing to put no alcohol whatsoever. And I know my grandfather might like alcohol. I do not wish to, because I personally don't feel comfortable with it. Do you understand? But that's my free will choice. I'm not being disrespectful. I can give in other offerings. I can do my prayer. I can bless them. I remember them on the days of the dead, which, by the way, in the Mayan calendar is every 20 days. But that's why I'm choosing. I don't complicate myself too much. It's not if I don't put alcohol, I'm gonna get blamed, I'm gonna go to hell. No, absolutely not. It doesn't work like that. Perhaps when my dad passed away, I may put a little bit because I know he didn't like it. But at this moment, it's nothing against alcohol, because alcohol is not good nor bad. It's how you use it. But because of the history of damage that it did to my family, I choose not to put it there. And I'm not going to get punished or blame or anything. We cannot complicate ourselves too much. Simple is the best. One more thing. Sometimes nobody I think has spoken about this. The ancestors are souls in their own soul journey. Sometimes you have to be conscious of the respect that they also are, even though spirits are one thought away, for them to manifest here in ways that are more visible, it takes an effort. It takes a level of consciousness or vibration to go from the highest realms to the lowest realms. And it takes time. So it's not ethic or proper to just call them to ask them, oh, why do you love my sister more than me? Or why do you left more money to my cousin? Or who has the jewelry? They don't, when they actually in their own healing in the other side, those human things doesn't matter as much as they used to, because when they left the human body, they left those desires as well. So we have to honor just because you're calling them, what is your intention by calling them? Why do you want to work with them, or why you don't want to work with them? Why are you choosing to speak to them, and why are you choosing to put the boundary? That's the most simple thing you can do. At the end of the day, your ancestors are part of the creator. You are part of the creator. Life is part of the creator. So we are one. So we have to honor that we all have different ways to communicate, to respect, to love each other. So just go by the simple thing, which is, how does it feel for you when you do something, and what's your intention? Okay, thank you, everybody.
Thank you, DoveLight. The psychic nerds go a little more. Oh, you're muted still. Let's get you unmuted.
Okay, so to answer that particular question, I know for me, my journey started out with someone helping me. It was a spiritual healer and uh, coach that I started working with, and he told me specifically, set up an ancestor altar. And because he picked up that I was wanting to do it, but I didn't exactly know where to start. So I went and looked at a few videos on YouTube. Obviously, I also bought some books and things like that. And ultimately, it started coming to me, some of the things I could put on the altar, where to set it up, things of that nature. So it can take time for ancestors to show up. If you have any doubts, uh, you aren't going to have them for long, because you do the practice. It can be, you do daily ancestral veneration. It's been my experience starting out. Some of them show up immediately. My mother showed up within a day or two. So, so if you're doing it, it's just going to take time for them to show up, but they will show up eventually. So don't worry about them not being present, right? And I'm just gonna, as a side note, say that if you do go on YouTube or read any of the books that I put in chat and showed here tonight, you can read them kind of as an idea. You don't have to do exactly what it is they're telling you. A lot of the times you'll hear somebody say, "Oh, you need to have a white cloth and use only white candles and light them a certain way." You don't need to do it a certain way. Like I said, there's no specific right way to do daily ancestral veneration. Now, something like Day of the Dead or the dinner with the dead, as Leslie says she does, or a shamanic ritual with ancestors, then yes, you want to do those particular practices a certain way. And keep your offerings. Your offerings can be simple. Because I know, Leslie, you also mentioned something about pouring wine during your ceremony or to start it. That's something that people with African ancestry, we actually do that a lot. It's called libations, and it's something as simple as, I'm gonna pour one out for my homie. That's what you're doing. That's what they are doing. They're pouring out that alcohol and making an offering to the earth for that friend, loved one, whoever, ancestor, right? So it can be as simple as that. And I jumped up to grab another non-food offering that you see in a lot of Asian cultures, joss paper, right? So it has several different names. It can be called joss paper, heaven notes, hell notes, and ancestor money, right? And it's colorful like this, right? It has different denominations on it, so to speak. You can get the gold joss paper or heaven notes, hell notes, ancestor money that looks like this. It's gold. Also, there's silver, but you can burn that and make that as an offering as well. It doesn't have to be complicated. You can, just put out some food and say, "This is for my ancestor, uh, Valentina." It can be simple. It's not complicated. Or you can simply talk to them, right? Or play a favorite song. Like, it doesn't have to be complicated. It's just that when you have an altar somewhere in your house, or when you do a certain ceremony, you're facilitating a deeper connection and also healing of your ancestor, you, the family lineage. So does it have to be complicated? No. you can, like I said, just keep it simple and don't let the term hell note throw you off. It's history behind why they're called hell notes in Asian culture, and it ties into, religion and then first meeting European missionaries and things like that. But don't be scared if you see hell notes. It doesn't denote anything bad. So you can, get those kinds of things, use them. Most metaphysical shops will carry those. Amazon, as we know, carries everything. But if you have a metaphysical shop, or if there's like some kind of Asian supermarket or store, you can probably go and find that kind of stuff, because they use this a lot for their particular veneration practices. And that's why I also mentioned, don't worry about your culture per se, because in every culture around the globe, ancestor veneration has been or currently still is a practice. And that includes a lot of Western cultures. I know it's not very prevalent in Western society, but if you go back far enough, you're going to see a lot of ancient cultures in Europe that had ancestor veneration and practices that they did. So don't let those kinds of things detour you. I will say, though, if you're going to incorporate practices from a culture different from yours that you are embodied in right now, be respectful. I cannot stress that enough. Be respectful. Do not do it because it's a trend you saw on TikTok, or it's something that everybody is doing or whatever. If it speaks to you, there's a 8 out of 10 chance that it's from a past life, and it is okay for you to incorporate it. Go with what resonates with your soul. I burn that kind of paper for my ancestors because it's what resonates. So just be mindful. Yes, you can do those things, but be respectful, be mindful of that particular culture.
Great, thank you. I know DoveLight's got something to share, and then we're actually going to close out and have everyone share again about yourselves. Go ahead, DoveLight.
I was remembering when we were speaking about it 10 years ago when one of my grandmas died, and I was in my in-person practices exchanges of psychic information. I got these messages that my grandma wanted me to marry. And I was wondering even who I am at that time. And I was thinking about marriage. So of course, just because she died doesn't mean she still got, because she just passed away, she still kind of have like her human conscience that woman needs to marry, needs to do their own family, things like that. I didn't listen to that advice because that was my choice. 10 years later, now she comes to me to help me. Actually, she's one of my helpers to let me know about people's intention, men's intention specifically. And she actually comes as a golden light to help me through my healing process. Actually, one of the most beautiful, I think you, Grandma, one of the most beautiful spirit guides that I have who is accompanying my journey. I think she's in a level where she now remember her previous past life and she's helping me as a spirit. But why am I telling you this? Not even an archangel, not even an angel, not even an ancestor, not even a spirit that can live your life for you. They can guide you, can show you the probabilities of your choices, but you must choose for yourself because you're also a spirit and a soul who is living the path. And so just be aware of that. And number 2, the Catrina. In the Mexican tradition, we paint our faces like a skeleton to represent the Catrina. The Catrina is a symbol of social justice. It means that no matter how much money you have, no matter how much studies you have, no matter how much you think high you have, we all have bonds and we all go back to the dead. That's the symbol of equality, of social justice. So please be mindful to don't dress up as a Katrina for a Halloween costume if you don't even know the meaning, because that's very disrespectful. You can be a skeleton, but a Katrina, if you choose to do so, you need to know why are you wearing that, because it's truly disrespectful. And you wear it when you paint your face as a Katrina, as a skeleton, is that social justice symbol, but it's also honoring the spirit of the dead. And this might change through different traditions or different cultures or different towns. For us, the spirit of the dead is a peaceful spirit. We can have traumatic deaths and we can have nice death, just sleeping and go. But the spirit of death per se is just that. It's just a passing spirit. It's the last breath, and will come with the first breath when you're born. So the death is only a peaceful passing spirit. There is something called La Santa Muerte, the same death, that unfortunately it has come a dark meaning. Like people think it's just the spirit of the dead, but in reality, usually what happened with that vibration, and please, this is only for the ones who resonate. If you believe in that in your own way, respect that. Usually the Santa Muerte, when you see heavy energy and death and blood and alcohol and drugs, because we have seen images like that, that's not the Santa Muerte. That's actually an image who is attracting demonic or lower vibration souls. And if you ask her for something, she will take something away from you. Do not give your power away to anything that doesn't feel right for you. Just because it's like I love what the psychic nerd was saying, just because something is trendy, just because it looks cool or have a nice meaning name in English, that doesn't mean that we have to play or deal with it. That per se is just a spirit of passing, nothing more. Saying that when you have to do bloody rituals and give these type of things and this type of that, that's a lower vibration, making itself pass as something else. And unfortunately, there's people who are entangled with those type of vibration. And this is what I wanted to speak about, these three things. And thank you, everybody.
Then did you want to turn off your video and show people the image, or do you not want to do that?
What image?
You have an image on if you turn off your video right now, is it a painted face?
Oh, yeah, the Katrina, of course.
Yeah.
The Katrina. Yeah, this is the Katrina. When you are doing the Katrina painting in your face, you have to do mindfully, either honoring the spirit of the death, because we are not afraid of dying. We actually more afraid of how to live our life with meaning, with purpose. Am I doing what I was supposed to be here? Am I having passion in my life? Am I taking care of myself? That's why we get a little bit afraid. But dying is just go on that sense. Sometimes painful, sometimes easier, but you just go. So when we're painting the dead, we're making peace with it. As I came to this planet, one day I will leave through the divine's will, whichever way in form. Now we always pray. We also like to have a good relationship with death. So when it's time for us to die, we say in English something like, we earn a peaceful death. You want to just to sleep, and it's very rare now to just go out of bed and sleep and pass the other side. So when you're doing that, you can either channel the respectful spirit of the dead, or you can do an ancestor as well. That also can be, if you're a little bit, concerned about it, you imagine an aunt or a grandma or a sister or a little cousin that you really like and they pass away. When you are painting, you start honoring them. And that's how you become a Katrina. And this is also, that's the spiritual aspect. This is also the representation of one of the goddesses of the Betlali, of the Mexican pantheon, which is the one who holds the bones, because the ancient Aztec or Mesoamerican people believe that the bones have spiritual powers to connect you with the dead. And they usually used to give offerings to this goddess because they believed that this goddess was guarding their life in the other side. So the connection was never broken. Yes, we do have a place of grieving, but we also have a balanced place to honor that there is life after death. This is why we usually use bright color. Oh my God, if you see the cemeteries, everything is in neon color, flowers, guitars, music. You can cry. You can tell people, I haven't forgive you, or I forgive you, or I was hurt, so sorry that you heard this. Just the moment of releasing it outside of you, it's so much healing. So the death is the symbol of transformation, transmutation for us. So when you release something that is not for your highest good to the death, take it out of your system, you are transforming it. And this is why for us, the Day of the Dead, it's not Mexican Halloween, it's not a costume, it's actually a festivity to honor life. It's interesting. We honor life, if we could say that. Yeah.
Great, thank you. All right. Well, we're going to go ahead and close out. So we'll go in the same order that we did before. And I'll put your information in the chat as you're sharing. Make sure that you remind people your name, what you do, how they can connect with you on the web. You're welcome to share your special. So let's see. I think we did, was it Diane, Leslie, Psychic Nerd, DoveLight, and Shannon, I think. So go ahead, Diane.
I'm Diane Evans, and I am a fifth generation shaman and a licensed minister. I practice sacred geometry, energy healings, and activations. I offer different types of practices, ritual practices, different types of oracle, tarot reading, past life reading, any kind of psychic kind of mediumship readings. And I'm offering currently a reading for 44 for 15 minutes, or a past life reading for 55, or sacred geometry healing or activation if you book it between now and tomorrow at 35. And if you are in the Auburn area this weekend, there will be a Mayway Fair, and we will also be doing sacred geometry both Saturday and Sunday morning. So if you're in the local area and can come in, we'd love to have you there.
Great. Yeah, that's a group healing workshop that that Diane is doing. All right, great. Thank you. And Leslie.
I'm Leslie Zemenek. I am a hand analyst, past life astrologer, and I do another reading called Soul Plan Numerology, which uses Kabbalistic alphabet and based on your birth name. All of my offerings focus on your soul mission and healing past life trauma and helping you learn what your soul needs in order to advance to the next level. I do have an offer. If you go to my website, lesliezemenek.com or lesliezemenek.com/soulpurpose, you can book a reading online, use the coupon code MeWe24 for $50 off any of my readings.
Great. Thank you so much, Leslie. And we've got the Psychic Nerd next.
Hello, everyone. Thank you again for joining us this evening. I'm the Psychic Nerd. I am a tarot reader, oracle reader, and a medium. And the medium has that portion. I've had people's passed on loved ones and ancestors come to me to give them messages. So that is something that I offer as well. And the best way to reach me is the information that's in the chat. Innerrise. My email is innerriselife@gmail.com. And I am also on Facebook, Innerrise Living.
Thanks so much, Psychic Nerd. And DoveLight, and then Shannon.
Good evening, everybody. I honor and bless the ancestors of blood and lineage, your spiritual ancestors, your starving ancestors, the original ancestor, the divine, the original ancestor, Mother Earth. We're so grateful to be here. Thank you to the ancestors of each and all of us present together. We're taking a moment out of our human experience to be able to listen with love and respect. May anything of this beautiful event gather in your heart for you to be able to flow in your spiritual path. So be it, so it is. Thank you, ancestors of this land, Native Americans of this land, protectors and guardians. So be it, so it is. My name is DoveLight. You can find me on my Instagram as DoveLight Oracle or at my DoveLightOracle.com. I have a coupon, Ancestor, for 25% any reading. But my reading, I just put it as tarot because it's easier to write. But to be honestly, I have the ability to just by listening to your voice, I'm already getting information because your soul is connected to your soul. And I read from a soul level. Sometimes we get spirit from the other side. Sometimes we get guidance from your spirit guide. It's like, it's really individual type of reading. If you don't have any question, you can bring a general message from spirit if that's what you would like. But I'm just honored and blessed to be able to listen and to your story because we all have something to do in this planet. We all have something important. Nobody here is just because. Even if it's another thing, sometimes people believe through my readings I get misunderstanding. Sometimes people ask, what's my life mission? What's my life mission? You cannot only have one life mission. You cannot put your diversity, your expansion in many things. One of the mission is to be kind. One of the mission is to serve others. And then we have the spiritual passion mission, what we come to do. So never put yourself on a square. In spiritual readings can help you to guide you through your process. And that's why I offer spiritual readings as well. And yeah, thank you. It was an honor to be here. Thank you, Laureli, for allowing us the space. I learned so much from everyone. I'm so happy I was here and keep preparing for Dia de los Muertos. Remember, you are welcome to start your altar for Dia de los Muertos. It's as long as you do it with respect and you also research of your own ancestry and include them. It's good. It's good. Thank you, everybody.
Yeah, thank you so much, DoveLight, and thank you for the inspiration for having this panel. This is so great when we do this. And Shannon is next.
Oh, this is Shannon. I also really appreciated being here with everybody. It's been really awesome. And I offer ancestral healing sessions. I actually haven't been doing sessions recently due to some health issues. I'm just kind of dipping my toe back in. But if anything, if you have any interest in anything I shared this evening, or you think that might be some work you want to do, feel free to send me an email, which is in the chat, I believe. And yeah, we can definitely chat. So thank you very much.
It's in the chat and great. If you feel comfortable with it, go ahead and say it on the video. If anyone watches the video later, they can reach out to you. There's also going to be a link to the Facebook event, and they should be able to find it there too. But yeah, it's up to you if you want to share. And all right, and I'm Laureli Shimayo. I'm an intuitive eye reader, body psychology coach, and matchmaker. My contact info is in the chat. You can find out more about me at intuitiveeyereading.com or matchmakingsoulmates.com. I run a drop-in dating coaching and matchmaking group to support you on your journey. And I just love the connection with all the different spirits that are connected in our lives, the ones that are coming and the ones that are historical. It was great being here for me, learning so much. It's so much fun doing this with all of you. I get to know you all better on the panel. Well, thank you everyone for being here. You can find out more about all of our upcoming events at mewefairs.com, MEWEFAIRS.com. We have events in person in Washington and Oregon, where we've got a lot more still going on for the rest of the year. Someone mentioned we're going to be in Auburn, Washington this weekend. And then we've got starting to schedule out next year. And we've got many more coming online. If there's a theme that you'd like for the panel, let us know. Our next online fair is actually November 9 on my birthday. And then we've got a business fair, I think, coming up on the 11th to support you in launching, scaling, growing your business with spirit, and just all kinds of different offerings, and practice circles coming up too. So thank you again, everyone. We deeply appreciate you being there. And for those of you that didn't get a chance to ask a question and thought you might have a question, please reach out to our practitioners individually, and we look forward to being able to support you. All right, and let's see, where is our recording hidden now? There we